Hello, and welcome to Echo This, Empowering Conversations of Hope and Opportunity. As in the past, we have here my co-hosts who are ready to tackle a very important conversation on the title, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Who am I if I can't have it all? And I'm introducing now my colleagues, and first we'll start with Lisa.
Thank you, Amy. I'm a speaker, consultant, and author with over 2 decades of experience in leveraging humor, gamification, and play to enhance collaboration, engagement, and productivity in businesses. And I do have a background in stand-up, sketch comedy, and improv comedy as well. And I bring a unique, engaging approach to my work, making complex concepts accessible and enjoyable.
Thank you. And next?
I'm Debi Wimberley, a passionate advocate for quality health, a medical cannabis educator, consultant with a focus on optimal health through education and advocacy. By demystifying the benefits of the endocannabinoid system, cannabinoid therapeutics, and empowering individuals to take proactive steps in their health and wellness.
Thank you. And I want to just ruminate a minute on the title, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Some of you are familiar with it, dating all the way back to a 1937 Disney movie called Snow White. And the evil queen looked in the mirror, and she would always ask this question, Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And fair appearances, good appearances, how we present ourselves in society, this is what we're going to dive deep into today. It's interesting that years ago, believe it or not, this is sourced from 1812 with the Brothers Grimm in their fairy tales. So the concept of the magic mirror and the knowledge of where we stand, how we fare, what are our perspectives and our perceptions of ourselves by others, so throughout the threads of our society. So I'd like to read the first question. Because society places such emphasis on standards of appearance and also that spills over into behavior, this pressure often causes individuals to feel inadequate. I see all around me signs, I am enough. And I see jewelry, I am enough, with the I am in capital letters to be sure that we're certain that we have a sense of self and authenticity. So we're questioning now, and I'm going to ask both of you, if these are the givens of society and this is the trend, what hope can you offer for fair and healthy and positive, realistic discussions about our perceptions of appearance? Let's start off with Debi.
Thank you, Amy. Well, let's be honest. The standard we're all trying to live up to is usually shaped by the period of time in which we were born. When I was little, everyone in the media looked the same, slim, polished, perfectly put together. A vision of enough was built on being quite, proper, and pleasing. But here's the wild part. Those standards, they move, they bend, they age, just like hemlines and hairstyles. Look at the music industry. When Ann Wilson, lead singer of Heart, hit the scene, she was pressured to be thin, just to be considered worthy of belonging. Fast forward now, talent is finally taking the front seat, not appearances. That shift gives me hope. So here's the truth bomb. I am enough. It isn't just a cute affirmation. It's a radical reset. It's saying, I don't need to earn my worth. It's already in me. Society's measuring stick will keep changing, but you are not up for debate. So what's the hope I see? It's this. We are getting closer to rewriting the rules, and this time they should sound a lot like this. Be you. Show up as you are, and stop apologizing for not shrinking into someone else's mold. So here's your invitation. Pull out that metaphorical mirror and ask, mirror, mirror, time to see what standard still lies inside of me. Then ask yourself, is it even mine or just something I picked up to survive? If it no longer fits, Lovingly send it back, because the only standard worth chasing is the one that lets you breathe deeper, move freer, and live truer. You, dear listener, are already enough.
Well, right away, I think you've taken this to another level, Debbie, where it's not just the appearance in the mirror, but you're going way, way deep, deep down into the authenticity and the self-worth of the individual and that journey of self-discovery, not just an image in front of our eyes. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
Yes, Amy. Well, I think that society has a lot of opinions about our bodies, our faces, our voices, our outfits, our Instagram filters, our email tone, our salad dressing. It's exhausting. If society were a person, it'd be the one relative who gives you backhanded compliments and diet tips at Thanksgiving. We all know who that is. Unsubscribe, please. Here's the thing. The message we've absorbed over and over is that you're not enough unless you're constantly improving, contouring, optimizing, exfoliating, and preferably doing it all while smiling politely and answering emails with 0 typos. That's not a life. That's a full-time performance with no intermission. The mantra, I am enough, isn't about giving up. It's about opting out of the circus. It says, I can show up as myself without needing to Photoshop my personality or my thighs or my resume. If we want fairer, healthier, more real conversations, we've got to start by calling out the BS gently but firmly, like, love that for you, but I'll be over here wearing sweatpants and having a soul. Also celebrating what's real, not just what curated. Being the person in the room who doesn't pretend to have it all together. That's radical and honestly, way more fun. So the hope, people are tired of pretending. They're craving real. Every time someone says, this is me, unfiltered, under-caffeinated, still worthy, it cracks the mold. And we need more cracks. You are not too much. You are not enough. You are exactly the right amount of fabulous, weird, wild, brilliant, tired, hopeful, and magic. Also, if someone tries to sell you worthiness in a bottle, just walk away.
What good advice is that? Yeah, cracking the mold. Cracking the mold, probably one of the hardest things that we all do in our lives, cracking the mold. I'm hung on that particular phrase. I want to just read a blanket statement that we all know, but I just want to give a framework to somebody just focusing now on this topic, and then we're all going to continue to dive deeper. Okay, so of course, yes, appearance matters in society, although to varying degrees and with varying interpretations, because those interpretations are ours. While not the sole determining factor, physical appearance can significantly influence how people are perceived, treated, and even how they experience opportunities in social, professional, and personal life, according to research and general observations. So what could be more true than the general observations that we see with our own eyes? And then we want to assure you that much of what we're talking about today is based on research. And to start these conversations, realistic conversations, we have to go back to the home. We have to go back to when we're getting dressed in the morning with mommy there. And if mommy is saying, oh boy, does this look horrible on me? Boy, I look fat in this. What message are we sending to our daughters? And how unconsciously might we say something like that? So if we start monitoring our own self-empathy and self-worth and appreciation for ourselves and don't be derogatory about it, we are going to make light years of progress in how at very early impressionable ages our children see themselves. That's a given. Body image in childhood has been shown to be perceived negative even in children as young as, guess, 6 years old. As young as 6 years old. So to create these positive attitudes, they could start with positive maternal relationships also. And those can, in time, with some control on how much time the big bad wolf, of course, social media, is going to be seen and monitored. That can all, parental behavior can all lessen the media impact. It can. It's important. So notice and call attention to the positive. Lisa was inferring this. What is beautiful about you? What is magnificent? And dwell on those issues. For example, you're watching TV and there's an awards program and there's a dance routine. How many times now do you sometimes see very heavy set dancers? I have. And my first response is, oh my goodness, look at her, you know, how pretty and how, whoa, how bold. And then I catch myself and I say, so conditioned. Wow, this is great. This is wonderful. Look at their grace, their enthusiasm. And this is where, if we see something like this, we have to positively reinforce it with everybody around us and not make it something for a negative comment, but something for empowerment, strength, and joy in diversity. And that starts with our feelings towards our appearance. So we just, as in all of our sessions, our episodes, we just spoke about hope, the hope in realistic conversations and realistic attitudes. And now let's go into opportunity. What are the opportunities overcoming negative self-image? So my question is, this is perhaps a rite of passage for all of us. And it continues, I believe, in every single stage of our lives, from when we're a toddler, a preteen, and we want to look a certain way, till when we're aging and we want to thrive and age gracefully and look good. So I'd like everyone, please, to share a situation in which appearance in some way became a catalyst, and it was for a positive opportunity to learn and to grow. We'll start with Debbie again.
Well, Amy, let's be real. Overcoming negative self-image isn't a one-time event. It's a quest. And sometimes it starts early, like you said. For me, it began in childhood, all because I was born a redhead. And let me tell you, growing up as a redhead wasn't exactly glamorous. I stood out in every school picture, every classroom, everywhere, and not in a way that felt empowering as a kid. I stood out as different, as I was a lone redhead. Other kids would tease me, saying things like, I'd rather be dead than red on the head. I still remember this little boy in first grade who pushed me down every day at recess on the blacktop reciting those words. I came home daily with skinned knees and a growing belief that something about me wasn't okay. I used to tell my mom, when I'm old enough, I'm going to dye my hair. And here's the twist. My mom was a redhead too, and she had her own image beliefs of being a redhead. She never allowed me to wear anything red, telling me redheads don't wear red. It doesn't work, it clashes. So my entire self-image started to form around this idea that my hair had made me too much or not enough. But something beautiful happened with time. By the time I was old enough to dye my hair, which would have been 18 in my family, I didn't want to dye it anymore. Somewhere along the way, I had learned to embrace my red. It became something I loved, something that made me my unique self. That transformation didn't come from changing myself. It came from accepting myself as I was. The opportunity in all of this, it taught me to question who gets to identify beauty and who gets to decide what parts of me are too different. That lesson planted the seed for the work I do now, helping others to reclaim their health, their own unique identity, and rewrite the rules they were handed. Little Miss Redhead sat with her truth, and what she once feared became her proof. Is there something about you that you once wanted to hide, but now you're learning to love it? What part of yourself did you dim to fit in, and is it time to let it shine? Bring that part out into the light today. Tag a friend, write it down, or say it out loud. Let that part of you speak again, because healing starts with being seen, especially by yourself.
Yes, the opportunity to discover and based on your through line here to go even deeper and deeper and celebrate. Beautiful. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
Well, the negative self-image, yes, I would say yes to that. She and I go way back, like matching journals and internalized judgment back. And just when you think you've outgrown her, bam, she shows up in a new outfit. Middle school was my too frizzy hair. College, well, my not enoughness in low-rise jeans. Adulthood, now she critiques my under eye circles and questions my leadership voice like she's running HR. Here's one moment that flipped the script for me, Amy. A few years ago, I was invited to speak on a panel. Big deal, big room, big confidence, until I saw a photo of myself from the event. Cue spiral. I looked tired. I asked, why that outfit? Is that my face when I'm speaking? Then a woman messaged me. She said, thank you for showing up looking like a real person. You reminded me I don't have to shrink or sparkle to belong. I can just show up and speak. Boom. That moment taught me that our so-called flaws are often someone else's proof that they're not alone. That maybe the very thing I was judging was the exact thing someone else needed to see. And it's wild how the stuff that we think disqualifies us is usually what makes us human, relatable, and magnetic. So yes, self-image is a lifelong rite of passage, but every stage gives us a new chance to say, what if this isn't a flaw to fix, but a flag I get to fly? And P.S., that panel photo, still not my favorite, but now I keep it because it reminds me that confidence isn't about looking perfect. It's about being true, even when your face is doing something weird.
Thank you for that, Lisa. Thank you so much. It's so interesting that there's a thread here about bullying. One of the hottest topics in our whole society today, exacerbated even with social media. So I just want to pinpoint that, the ostracism you felt through the different stages of your development, Lisa, and poor Debbie, just by virtue of being born red, the bullying strand is there. For this question, I'm going to use as a catalyst something that had international impact. I'm going to take a quick case study of somebody who fascinates me, and that's Susan Boyle. Susan Boyle came onto a stage in around 2009, and she had a bad hair comb and a very housewife, housecoat looking dress on at 47 years old. Think about that. And here she was on one of the major platforms for talent and entertainment in the entire world. And here she was a case study about, I believe, some changes in our perceptions about what's mainstream and also about who we're going to judge or not judge about appearance, giving us all an opportunity to learn and to grow. So real quickly, I dived a little bit into her background, and she was from a little tiny Scottish town. Her mother had her when her mother was 47. And this woman who everybody thought looked so odd, and Simon Cowell's eyes were rolling when, what's this going to be like? And she had some supposed brain damage as a child through the birth. And much later on, after her success, she was diagnosed as having Asperger's. A reason and a cause to understand the appearance versus the perceptions or the comments or the negativity of other people on first exposure. By the way, we all know that her YouTube of her audition went viral, immediately went viral. And after she posted her first album, she was nominated for a Grammy Award alongside Lady Gaga and Katy Perry and Justin Bieber, and Lady Gaga won that year. So she was catapulted to amazing fame. So now, through a person's groundedness and centeredness and sense of self-worth that she had to create, and she went out of the public eye for a little while, she's, believe it or not, one of the most influential people in the world, ranked above Simon Cowell and above President Obama. And it's incredible to think that she surpasses people in entertainment and politics because of her influence on people in a very positive way. So I wanted to highlight, we can unfairly label people, we could assume things about people, but through inner fortitude, we can conquer all of these perceptions about appearance. I was delighted to hear she was recently married and had an amazing wedding with all these celebrities. And it's just so empowering to me to think that now people are more aware of Asperger's and how people can overcome and succeed with that disability, that challenge. And I'm just in awe of her, and I hope to see a lot more of her throughout her career. She's about 64 years old now and still going strong. So yeah, let's go, and let's keep watching this rising meteor, Susan Boyle. And that brings us to our next question in this discussion. And that question is number 3. I'd like us all to recall an experience when you or someone else had a good laugh over a situation in which appearances were the focus of fun and celebration. And this is our laughter question. So we'll start with Lisa.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to answer this. And I think about, I was performing in a virtual comedy show, and think about it, it was peak early Zoom era, back when no one had figured out camera angles, ring lights, or how to look human in 720p. And I was dressed to impress. Well, anyway, from the waist up, mascara on, a statement necklace, sparkly top, and sweatpants that had definitely seen some things. 5 minutes before showtime, I realized my background was not what I thought it was. Instead of my fake brick wall Zoom background that I created, I somehow clicked on a filter called Outer Space Pizza Party, which featured floating pepperoni slices orbiting my head like I was the queen of carbs. And I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. I couldn't figure out where my real background even went, so I just leaned into it. Then, mid set, my Wi Fi lagged, and for a solid 20 seconds, the audience saw nothing but my face frozen mid joke, mouth open, eyes half closed, like a very confused opera singer having a vision. And then, to top it off, my cat jumped into the frame, knocked over a mug, and left the scene like a diva who'd been heckled. So we all laughed harder than any perfect set I've ever done, because the appearances, my sparkly top, the pizza filter, the frozen face, it all became part of the celebration. The audience didn't need polished, they needed real. And real was hilarious, because that night reminded me that showing up, even glitchy and unfiltered, is way more powerful and funnier than showing up perfect. Also, never trust a virtual background or a cat during a punchline, Amy.
Wow. Well, that was certainly an interesting episode in your life for sure. Um, it's funny, not to make a pun, but I found this a little difficult, this question to think about with appearance. And the first thing I came up with was Halloween, believe it or not. Halloween, a time when everybody plays with the concept of appearance. And I thought, you see, I was from the era where we were not allowed to dress up at school for Halloween, except I guess when we were taught very small. But now high schools allow the students to come in costume. And I think it's a much, much bigger business enterprise and focus of our traditions that Halloween has become. So looking into the costume aspect of it, I was thinking that many people try to take on an appearance that maybe they don't usually have, and they want to try it on. You know, maybe it's a power person, or maybe it's a character that's a very sweet character from the Disney spectrum or something like that. And I was thinking it's something I'd like to dive a little deeper into at some time, about what we do when we experiment with different personas. And I know that it produces a lot of laughter when we see what characters people want to project on Halloween. I find that very interesting. I came across by just accident today a clip of Lucy. I love Lucy. And she was in a ballerina outfit and she was leading a tap dance in front of Ricky and Ethel and Fred, all behind her. And the appearance of going a little odd in this bizarre little tutu was so hysterical. And the way they were following her in step, it was so ridiculously funny that I started to think body language has a lot to do with how our appearance is perceived, whether we look like we're timid and we're bait for a bully, or if we look like we're confident and we're willing to laugh at ourselves. Our appearance, I think, in generating laughter can really protect us in many ways. And I bet right now you're thinking of the Lucille Ball, the chocolate, eating the chocolate on the conveyor belt, or other classic scenes. You could go back to Charlie Chaplin in The Little Tramp, all the way back to silent films, and you could go right to the myriad of comedians today who also take on a kind of little odd persona, and that's part of their brand. And that's what makes them even more unique, and that's what generates more laughter. So just a few ideas, and I hope that we can all, find the joy in physical laughter, and when things sometimes look a little off, we appreciate them more, and we can just have fun with it without judgment. And I really would like to see that more in our society.
Sometimes laughter doesn't come in the moment. This will not surprise any you or Lisa, the one, because I talk about this often with laughter. It shows up later. Once the sting is softened, pressure to be perfect finally cracks. I was 6 years old, dolled up in a pretty white dress, shiny shoes, white stockings, the whole 9 yards. Why? Because I had just been crowned Little Miss Redhead of 1963 by a famous hair color company. Yep, me. The same little girl who was teased for her red hair on the playground was suddenly being admired by a room full of adults for the exact same thing. I was asking, why would anyone choose to be a redhead? There I was, nervous as I could be, but feeling pretty special until the potato incident. We're sitting at one of those long banquet tables, and I go to stab that little round potato on my plate. That potato had other plans. It rolls right off, plop, onto the floor and under the table. Naturally, I was sliding off my chair to crawl under the table to grab it. Because, hello, if you do drop something, you pick it up, right? Well, my mom, she froze, and then she whispered with horror, "Get back up here. What are people going to think?" And I said, with the logic of the little 6-year-old, "They're going to think I dropped my potato." My mom wasn't having it. That phrase, "what will people think," took over the rest of that evening. I sat there stiff as a board, more concerned about the floor potato shame than my big, beautiful red hair moment. Like I'd broken an unspoken rule. Joy of being celebrated vanished under the weight of keeping up appearances. Now, decades later, looking back, I crack up. Why? Because it's so human, so silly, and so rooted in the pressure to appear perfect. Looking back, it is hilarious and very healing, because what I really needed wasn't correction. It was permission to just be a kid with a runaway potato. And honestly, isn't that kind of like Humpty Dumpty? He had a great fall, and everyone focused on putting him back together. But maybe he didn't need to be perfect again. Maybe he just needed to show up, eggshells and all. So here's the laughter, the joy of realizing you can drop the potato, you can pick it up or not. Either way, the world will keep spinning. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, but guess what? He showed up, eggshell and all. So here's the nudge. What's your potato moment? That tiny mishap that felt huge at the time, but now makes you smile. Share it with someone today. Text it, tell it, post it, and better yet, laugh at it in the mirror. Because when we stop worrying what people think and just show up as our perfectly imperfect self, you take the pressure off everyone else to be perfect too. Let's laugh at the tumble, not just the landing. Every time we stop performing and start embracing those messy moments, we get a little freer.
Well, you gave us the perfect segue into the next question. We've looked at echoing the hope, echoing the opportunity, echoing the laughter, and now we come to our signature session here, the segment on echoing the enigma. So in many situations, there is somewhat of an enigma. There's a duality here. And starting with Debi's amazing life memorable incident under the table with the potato, we know from this that when we push the pressure for perfection too far, the results may be undesired and overwhelming. So how can we be aware of, and how can we counteract both the subliminal and the conscious messages that lead to negative perceptions? And we'll start with Lisa.
Ah, Amy, perfection. That sparkly little monster that whispers just one more thing and then you'll be lovable. We've all heard the messages. Look polished, be productive, don't age, don't rest, be confident, but not too loud, be thin, but not too thin, be natural, but also lash lifted and lightly contoured at sunrise. It's like society downloaded one giant glitchy update into our brains called perfection.exe. And now it runs in the background while we're just trying to answer emails and remember what we walked into the kitchen for. So, how do we fight back? Well, the first thing that we can do is name the nonsense. If a thought pops up like, I can't show up until I look better, sounds smarter, seem more together, pause and ask, says who? If the answer is the beauty industrial comparison complex, gently tell it to sit down. And the second thing is curate your input. Who are you following? What are you watching? If your feed makes you feel like a walking before photo, clean it out like expired yogurt. You are not an algorithm. You are a person with a pulse and a story. And the third thing is clean imperfection out loud or celebrate imperfection out loud. Tell the stories where you fall apart, say the awkward things, show up underdressed and overcaffeinated, and still make people laugh, make them feel seen. That's the stuff people remember because perfection is exhausting and it's boring. It's so boring. It robs us of our weird, our wonderful, our real. So the next time you feel the pressure to be flawless, try this instead. Be full of life, be human, be the version of you that forgets the scripts and says something better. Also, if you accidentally show up to a Zoom call in pajamas, just tell them you're rebranding as relatable because perfection can't compete with that.
Wow. Well, this perfection kick gets a little scarier right now with my little example here that I discovered. I had to go get a gift for a 13-year-old, and I really didn't know what to get her. And I asked several very reliable people, and they said, oh, get her gift certificate to Sephora. And my mouth dropped. And I said, what? And they said, no, Sephora. And I asked a 13-year-old girl, and she was so cute. Her first comment to me was, well, how much do you want to spend? And then she said to me, oh, definitely get Sephora or Ulta. You have to get her that. Everybody loves it. That's what I love. And her mother even told me that. So I was kind of a little bit on my values level, thinking in my head, like, would I want my 13-year-old daughter to get a gift card to Sephora's? And at first I thought, oh, this is cute. This is all right. And people kept confirming that. And I kept thinking, well, maybe I should check with her mother first, and maybe that. So in this great deliberation, I decided I heard this catchphrase the other day, and I Googled Sephora girls. And guess what? It's shocking. Sephora girls are preteens from, believe it or not, 9 to 12, who spent $4.7 billion last year on cosmetics and skincare products that are normally marketed to much older women. I read that some of the Sephora girls have made a bad name for themselves, and they actually go into Sephora stores and they are rude and they're pushy and they have their parents' credit cards and they sometimes mess up displays and they demand service, to the point where one article said they're actually bullying the service people, the salespeople. So I said, what do we make of this? I mean, think about it for a minute, how you would respond if these young ladies, I can't even call them ladies, come into a store and start carrying on like that. There is a very deep social study here, a very deep social case study about appearance and how young girls want to appear a certain way. And there are discussions that are blossoming now about the type of products, whether they're even appropriate for young skin. Believe it or not, some of the products that have vitamin C, it may be fine for women who want to exfoliate and who want to have a certain glow, or products with retinol, but they're not good. They're damaging to young girls who are obsessed with pores, having no pores and having a certain glow. I've seen little tutorials where these girls, young girls, are on TikTok and they have a terry headband and they look all messed up with mask on them, and they're doing a before and after, and they're demonstrating beauty products to the audience. So TikTok is on the fence for partly promoting this and partly for saying we got to look at this and maybe kick back a little bit for age appropriateness. Some people are saying maybe there should be an age requirement that you shouldn't be allowed to go into Sephora under a certain age unaccompanied by a parent. And this happens at Ulta and other places too. And don't kid yourself, the majority of people are still buying the cosmetics at Walmart. They're also going there because the most popular brands, Elf and CoverGirl and Maybelline and all of those, are still standard and they're still affordable for the majority of other young girls. So it's rampant. And lip gloss and everything, if you find your makeup disappearing, you're going to know why if you have a young girl in your midst. But I had a little bit of a hard time with this, and I'm going to tell you something. I bought the gift card, but I haven't given it yet because I'm still not 100% sure that that's the gift I should give her. And yet I want to really give her a gift. She's a delightful little girl and she deserves the sky. And so I'm really having a situation over that. And I don't know. Lisa, you want to weigh in on that? What would you do? I mean, just real quickly, do you think you'd feel the dilemma I feel?
A little bit, but
Okay.
I would just go with my gut and what I wanted to give her, not with, yeah, I can see how that would be an enigma. Now I would just give her what you want to give her and not worry about what these other teenagers are doing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So back to the drawing board. The pressure question is still on. It's still a hot question. Go ahead, Deb.
Well, first, let me preface this with, if you've ever walked into an antique shop and looked in old antique mirrors, the vision you get back may not be the same one in each one, because sometimes the mirror lies, and sometimes it just reflects what the world taught us to believe. perfection. It's just a sneaky little thing. It starts off sounding like motivation, just be better, look better, try harder. But before you know it, it becomes the loudest voice in the room, and it's never satisfied. For me, the enigma of perfection showed up in one of the hardest chapters of my life, when I was learning to live with complex regional pain syndrome. I was in nonstop pain. Imagine constant electrical shocks running through your body with no off switch. I was barely functioning. My body was dropping weight fast. There I stood at 5'8", down to 95 pounds. And I still stood in front of the mirror, thinking I've got more weight to lose. That's the enigma right there. It wasn't until my therapist looked at me and asked, "Debbie, when will you ever think you're skinny enough?" That's when it hit me, stopped me cold. The truth, what I saw in the mirror was completely different from what everyone else saw. That disconnect, that inner conflict, it's real enigma. And I know I'm not alone in that, because what I saw in that mirror was so far from what everyone else was seeing. They saw someone sick, struggling, fading away. But I only saw not enough, not thin enough, not okay. It's like Goldilocks, wandering through a world of too much, not enough, and always searching for just right. But you know what? Here's the twist. No one ever gave Goldilocks a chance to define what just right meant for her. That's when I learned that perfection isn't just being loud. It can also be distorted. The kind of thinking, it's not reality, and whether it's caused by pain, illness, trauma, or pressure, it lies to us. So how do we counteract that? Notice the messages, the ones in your head and in your conversations. Are they helping you grow or just making you shrink? Ask questions instead of, am I enough yet? Ask, is this true? Is this kind? Is this mine? Talk to someone safe, because sometimes it takes another person's eyes to help you see yourself clearly again. Goldilocks tried everything, but never asked what she really needed. So here's your moment. Stand in front of your mirror, not to judge, but to ask. What part of me have I been measuring by somebody else's ruler? If it doesn't serve your health, your truth, or your joy, release it. Choose to write your version of just right. You deserve a life that fits you, not the other way around, because that's where healing begins. Embrace and love yourself as the unique person you are.
And in that process, which is a process that we've all been hinting at today, it leads us to our last question about considering these metamorphoses that occur with us. Sometimes they seem slow. They're transitions that maybe don't seem pretty or nice in the interim stages. And while these processes of becoming may seem discouraging, negative sometimes, or slow in having a solution, how can we create favorable outcomes in this whole arena of appearances? And we'll start with Debbie.
Thanks, Amy. When we talk about transformation, it's easy to focus on the final stage, the polished version, the butterfly, the big win. But the truth, transformation is messy, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, it's often slow, and rarely Instagram ready. Of course, I've got to go with the butterfly because it's my symbol of healing. I remember doing a photo shoot at Butterfly Wonderland. When I first walked in, it was not magical right away. It's kind of weird. There are rows of larvae and cocoons just hanging there. It's not cute. It's the in-between. And yet that's exactly where the magic is happening. Just beyond the glass cases was the garden, bursting with every shape, size, and color of butterfly. Some tiny, some massive, all completely unique. And in that garden, one butterfly landed on my chest. Its wings started to flap and flutter in rhythm with my heartbeat. That moment changed me. It reminded me that growth isn't about speed, it's about presence. And sometimes you don't need to rush into becoming. just need to be there in the stage you're in. So how do we maintain healthy perceptions when we're not yet where we want to be? We remember that every phrase, even the sticky, silent, and ugly ones, are part of becoming. We give ourselves permission to grow without pressure to perform. And we anchor into gratitude for how far we've come, even if we're not there yet. Take a moment to look at where you are right now, not where you wish you were or where you think you should be. Ask yourself, what part of me is growing, even if it's not visible yet? Then speak it out loud, honor it, because the truth is in every heartbeat, every messy middle, every awkward stage. It's all shaping the beautiful, one-of-a-kind you that this world needs.
Thank you. And Lisa, what are your thoughts on this transformation process?
Well, it's certainly not cute. It's not elegant. It's goo. Seriously, inside that chrysalis, the caterpillar basically dissolves into biological soup before it resembles as a butterfly. I mean, this basically means, like Debbie was saying, transformation isn't about glowing up, it's about melting down and trusting that something better is coming. And I think that's how we hold on to healthy perceptions during life's awkward, discouraging, nothing is working and might be actual goo phases, because we all go through them. So here's what helps. The first thing is stop expecting the middle to look like the end, because no one claps for a halfway done cake or a butterfly that's still soup. But that doesn't mean you're not becoming something beautiful. You're just not done yet. And the second thing is zoom out. Transformation rarely feels like progress when you're in it. But when you zoom out, month by month, season by season, you start to see the growth that got buried under panic, stretch marks, and overthinking. And then the third thing is redefine the win. A favorable outcome doesn't always mean a perfect result. Sometimes it means you keep showing up. You didn't give up. You learned. You didn't yell at the printer, because that counts. And the truth is, growth looks messy, but change feels weird. And just like no one rushes the butterfly, you don't have to rush your own unfolding either. You're allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress. Covered in glitter one day, covered in crumbs the next, because that's real. But keep going, because your wings are coming.
So we can see the beauty of each stage throughout the transformation. And to summarize, we're going to see ourselves as a whole person. We're going to not dwell on one flaw or something that we want to make the downfall of ourselves. And we want to join with like-minded people, positive-minded people in groups, and volunteer and help other people and show self-empathy and know what our capabilities are. And if we build on them at each stage, the transformation ultimately will be a continuing transformation and involvement, which is really what our main goal is. It's not an end, it's a whole journey. So with this, we want to thank all of you for being here today. And we encourage you to watch upcoming episodes of Echo This. And we also encourage you to give us your feedback on our social media at Echo Together, Echo with the number 2 together, and also to email us at echotogether.com. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Echo, empowering conversations of hope and opportunity. Your comments and questions fuel our discussions. Connect with us at Echo Together. That's Echo, the number 2, together on social media. And don't hesitate to drop your questions in our inbox at echotogether@gmail.com. Until we meet again, take care, keep echoing, and remember, your voice matters.